Welcome to Managing Okta-Mastered Users. In this quick mini course, we're going to talk about Okta-Mastered people and how to manage them. You should be able to complete this mini course within an hour or so it's perfect for lunchtime learning. With that said, let's get started. Before we jump in, let me take a minute to explain why you should care about what I have to say. I'm an IT professional and I've worked in the IT industry for over 25 years now. I've worked for small MSPs, large international firms, and everything in between. After decades as a senior engineer and a solutions architect, I now focus more on teaching and providing freelance IT consulting services for organizations all over the world. I'm a subject matter expert in numerous disciplines, including Microsoft Azure, Active Directory, Office 365, and messaging services like Skype and Exchange. I founded labitout.com earlier this year to teach IT professionals how to deploy common and not so common IT solutions. I'm also the author of the Azure PowerShell Quick Start Guide, which is published by Pact Publishing. Over the last few years, I've trained close to 20,000 students in over 190 countries. My goal is to train 50,000 students by the end of 2020. So let's get started. We'll start by covering the properties of Okta-Mastered people. Within an Okta organization, there are three different types of people or user accounts that are available. These include Okta-Mastered people, Directory-Mastered people, and Application-Mastered people. The topic of this mini course is Okta-Mastered people, so that's what we're going to focus on. Okta-Mastered people are associated with accounts that you create directly within Okta. You can create Okta-Mastered people manually via the portal or in bulk by importing them via a CSV file. When Okta-Mastered people log into Okta, they authenticate against the Okta password policy. This password policy is created and maintained in Okta by the Okta administrator. Okta-Mastered people can change their own passwords in the Settings window, which is accessible from the Username menu in the upper right of the application's homepage. Okta-Mastered people are governed by the Okta user profile. In other words, the primary source of truth for the Okta-Mastered user's attributes is the Okta user profile. I should point out that Okta-Mastered people can only be added to Okta groups that have been expressly created within Okta. They can't be added to groups that have been imported from an external directory service like Active Directory or LDAP. By default, when provisioning an Okta-Mastered account, there are actually 4 attributes that you must provide values for. These required attributes include first name, last name, username, and email address. In addition, the username must be in the form of an email address. In the upcoming demonstration, I'll show you how to add an Okta-Mastered person to an Okta organization. What I'm going to do in this brief demonstration is use my Okta people page from my Okta dashboard to create an end user for my martindesks.com Okta organization. So from my dashboard here, to create an end user manually for my organization, what I'm going to do is select directory from the top here and then go down into people. Now, if you notice, if I go back to the dashboard, I could also do a shortcut here and add people right from the dashboard. So I can do it either way. So we'll select people here. Now this page will only display a max of 25 users at a time. Now if I wanted to and I had more than 25 users, there'd be a more link here where I could click it to view more users in my organization. Now when I add a new user to my organization, what this does is allows my user to have his or her own My Applications page where they can access applications through Okta. So to add an end user to my org here, what I'm going to do is simply click on Add Person here from my People page. And then from here, I just need to fill in the information for my user. So I'll go ahead and create a Tom Mitchell user here. And then what I'll do here is give my user a username, which is an email format. Now, this primary email doesn't have to match the username. In best practice, it probably should. Generally speaking, the username for a user in an organization would be the email that they use on a day-to-day basis. That being said, this can be any valid email address that the user has access to. But like I said, generally speaking, the primary email would typically match the username in a production environment. Now, if I wanted to add a secondary optional email address, I could do that here. Now, this secondary email address can be used as a backup in case the user loses access to their primary email. This is a lab environment, so I'm not worried about losing my primary email, so I'm going to leave this field blank here. Now, another optional setting here is the group setting. Now, you'll see here it's telling me I don't have any groups. What I could do here if I had some groups defined, and we'll do this later on when we do some other exercises. If I had some groups defined, I could assign my new user to that group or to different groups by adding the name of the group in a field that would normally show here. And we'll get into groups later on, and I'll show you how that's done. Now, for password, we have a couple different options. We can have it set by user or set by the admin. Now, if set by user, what happens is the user's prompted to enter a password the first time they sign into Okta. The set by admin option allows the admin to provide a password for the end user. You can then prompt that user to change the password on first sign-in. Now, if I do this, obviously I have to give the user their password manually. I got to let them know, hey, I set your password to XYZ. Now, what you would typically do in a production environment is have this set by user. You don't want your admins running around with user passwords at any time. So we'll go ahead and click set by user. Now, if we hover over the little question mark here next to send user activation email, what this does is tells us that if we select this option, this new user is going to receive an activation email in their primary email address that we've set up. Essentially, this is the welcome to Okta email. And again, you would typically send this email so the user knows that they've been added to Okta. So we'll go ahead and check this box to notify me that I've been added, and then we'll save. So now we can see here I have a pending user action. Now what I'm going to do off screen here is open my email, and what I'm going to do is bring up this welcome email. All right, let me drag this in, and I'm using just my webmail through GoDaddy for this for now. So we can see this is the welcome email, and I've got a welcome email that says, your company's using Okta to manage your applications, yada, yada, yada. And you can see this email is basically telling the end user that his company is now using Okta to manage applications and that the system administrator has created an Okta user for you. And then it provides here a link that you can use to activate the Okta account. Gives me my login information. So what I'll do is I'll copy this. Now what I'll do here is I'll open this in an incognito window. And we can see my welcome here, and I'll just provide a password. And then we have to do our forgotten password question. And our security image. And so we can see now we're logged into Okta with the T. Mitchell account. And we got it here. And let me minimize this. Minimize the email. So now that we're back in here, we can see that the status for Tom Mitchell, my non-admin Tom Mitchell account here. I have two here because I signed up as admin at Martin Desks, but provided my actual name when I signed up for the tenant. So this is my non-admin account here. We can see that the status is still pending. Now, if I go ahead and refresh this screen, we'll see that my T. Mitchell account is now active. So that's how you add a user to your Okta organization manually through the people page in the Okta portal. So now that you know how to add Okta-Mastered people to an Okta org, I want to talk a little bit about the Okta-Mastered service account. Now, when you provision an Okta tenant, you really should create an Okta-Mastered account that you designate as a service account. This service account is then assigned the Okta Super Admin role. And you do this even if you're planning on using external directory services like Active Directory or LDAP. What this Okta Admin service account provides is a set of keys to access the Okta org in the event that your other admin accounts somehow wind up disabled or locked out. This service account is also useful in the event that your external directory service that you've integrated with becomes unavailable for some reason. With the service account provisioned, you'll still be able to use it to access Okta and perform day-to-day administrative tasks. Let's talk about importing Okta-Mastered people using a CSV file. Now, while the Okta portal is good for adding users in onesies and twosies, if you need to add lots of users in bulk, the portal becomes very limiting very quickly. With that said, Okta offers the ability to create Okta-Mastered people accounts in bulk by importing records via a CSV file. To import users in bulk using a CSV file, you first need to download the CSV template that Okta provides. This template includes fields for all available user attributes that can be populated. After you download the template, you can then populate it with the records for all of the people that you want to import into Okta. With all of the records added, you can then upload the CSV file into Okta from the people page. It's actually pretty straightforward. When you populate the fields in the CSV file, you need to include those 4 required attributes that we talked about earlier. If you forgot, they include the first name, the last name, login or username, and email address. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the login name or that username I was talking about, that needs to be in the form of an email address. I should note that when you use a CSV file to import people into Okta, you're limited to 10,000 people per file, and the size of that CSV file can't exceed 10 megabytes. In the upcoming demonstration, I'm going to show you how to create accounts in bulk using a CSV file. Previously, I showed you how to add a new user into your Okta organization using the Okta portal, using the people page. Now, you can also create and update your users in your Okta organization by uploading a CSV file that contains your user information. What I'm going to do here is show you how to import a user using a properly formatted CSV file. On the screen here, you can see I'm in my people page, and previously we just clicked Add Person to add a new user. What we're going to do here, though, to import our user via CSV, we're going to select More Actions here, and in this drop-down, we'll see an option to import users from CSV. So we'll go ahead and select this option. Now what we can do here is browse to our CSV of users and upload it. But how do you format it? Well, what you have here is a template that you can download. And what we'll do is we'll open up this template here. We drag this into my screen here. Now we can see here all of the information that we need to provide for our user. Now what we'll do here is populate the attribute fields as necessary. Some organizations may opt to include all of this information, some may not. What we're going to do is add one user to this CSV, and we'll call the user Joey Kanish. So the login is going to be his primary email address like we did for T. Mitchell. And then his first name is Joey, last name Kanish. We'll use his login as his email. And we'll set his display name to Joey Kanish. And then once we have all of our fields that we need set up for our user, what we'll do, we'll save this file. And then what we'll do here is we'll minimize it. And now we'll browse to our CSV. And now once we upload this file, Okta is going to put it through a validation process to make sure it's properly formatted and it includes all of the information that's necessary. So we'll go ahead and upload it here. And we can see that it was parsed successfully. So we'll go ahead and click Next. Now, once it's parsed our CSV file, we have a couple options here. We can automatically activate the new users, and if we hover over the question mark here, it just tells us that when we select this option, any of the users that are imported are automatically activated. We also have the option to not create a password and only allow login via identity provider. If we hover over this, we can see the information it tells us here is that we only use this option for users that are going to authenticate using an external IP or identity provider. If I do this, those users aren't going to be sent an activation email and they won't set up an Okta password, ostensibly because they're using a third-party or external identity provider. So I'm going to leave both of these boxes unchecked, and then I'll go ahead and import. We can see we have one user imported. If we click Done here, we can see Joey Kanish is sitting here as staged and that I need to activate their account. So I'll go ahead and activate the account. Now, when I do this, what's going to happen is that an activation email is going to be sent to Joey Kanish, just like I received mine when I manually added the account. So we'll go ahead and activate the user here. And then again, we see the pending user action. So in the next few minutes, Joey Kanish is going to, in the background here, go in and activate his account by setting up a password. So Joey Kanish has received his email. So what we'll do is we'll refresh here and we'll see Joey Kanish is now active. So if you have a ton of users to bring in manually, if you're not syncing from a directory or some sort of synchronization, and you need to bring your users in manually instead of a one-off basis, you can use a CSV file like I showed you here. You just populate that CSV file with all the information for your users, and then you just use that CSV file to pull your users in. As an Okta organization grows, it's often necessary to delegate administration to multiple administrators. That being the case, you need to know how to add other administrators. You should also understand the different admin roles that are available to assign. For example, if you need to add an Okta administrator who has full access to all of the Okta organization's features and settings, you'll need to assign that person the super admin role. However, if you need to provide a user the ability to configure applications, you'll need to assign the application admin role to that user. The Okta administrator role can be assigned to any active user within the org. This means that the role can be assigned to Okta-Mastered people that have been created in Okta manually, and the role can also be assigned to directory-mastered people who've been imported from external directory services like Active Directory. In the upcoming demonstration, I'm going to show you how to assign administrator roles to people within an Okta organization. In this brief demonstration, what I'm going to do is show you how to grant admin privileges in the Okta portal. Now, you can do this in one of two ways. You can assign admin privileges individually, or you can assign admin privileges to a group. So you'd have like an admin group. For this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to assign admin privileges to a user in a one-off fashion. Now, as you can see on the screen here, I'm in my people dashboard, and I have my three initial users in my Okta organization. I have my Tom Mitchell admin account, my Tom Mitchell non-admin account, and my Joey Kanish account. Now, before we start getting deeper into this course, in order to make things a little simpler and not confuse things, I'm going to edit my admin account here, and I'm going to rename it. What I'm going to do is call it admin, so I don't have to keep explaining what the account is. So we'll go ahead and save this here. Oh, we'll call it admin. So now if we go back to our people page here, we can see admin, or I could have called this Okta admin or whatever the case is. So now we have my non-admin Tom Mitchell account, my Joey Knish account, and my admin account. Now I'm logged in with my admin account, and I have been so far for these exercises. Now, to assign admin privileges to a user, what I need to do is browse to security up top here, and then into administrators. Now, I should note that only super admins can create admin users or grant admin privileges to existing users or groups. You can see here that the only super admin I have in my org right now is the admin account. Now, what I'm going to do is make Joey Knish an admin in my org. Now, to do that, I simply click the Add Administrator here. Now, you'll also see the Add Administrator group if I wanted to create a group here. But we're going to do Add Administrator. And then what we're going to do in the Grant Administrator Role 2 box, we're going to assign this to Joey Knish. And we'll go ahead and select Joey Knish here. And then as you can see here, there's a couple different, or actually several different administrator roles I could assign to Joey Knish. I can make him a super admin, an org admin. I can make him an admin of applications or groups. I can make him a help desk admin, a read-only admin, or even a report administrator. What I'll do here is I'll just make Joey Knish a read-only administrator. After selecting that option, I just click Add Administrator to grant that access. So now I have two administrators in my Okta org. I have my super admin, and I have Joey Knish, who is a read-only administrator. So as you could probably tell, the process for creating and managing Okta administrators is fairly straightforward, as long as you have that super administrator role for the account that you're using to grant the admin permissions to other users. So that just about does it for this mini course. You should now understand which attributes are required for all users in Okta, as well as how to add users to Okta, either manually via the portal or in bulk via a CSV file import. You should also now understand the importance and recommendations surrounding the Okta-Mastered service account and how to assign admin roles to people in the Okta org. For a deeper dive into Okta, visit the URL that you see on your screen. In my 3-hour Essentials course, you'll learn all kinds of cool Okta stuff. You'll learn how to configure external directories, how to configure groups, and how to configure single sign-on and provisioning. You'll also learn how to configure custom app integrations, how to manage access request workflows, and how to configure Universal Directory. We'll also discuss how to leverage the Okta policy framework. In addition to 3 hours of instruction, you'll also get to practice what you learn through several hands-on guided lab activities. Overall, my Essentials course provides about 6 hours of learning activities for those interested in learning the essentials of Okta. Thanks for stopping by today, and I hope to see you as a student over in my Essentials course. Be sure to say hi.